Hey guys, it's Ted Bogert. Welcome back to the TED Show. But actually, this is our series, Heroes Always Welcome, one of my favorite series on the show. We talk with veterans like Lechon Kirb, and we speak about their transitioning experience out of the military back into civilian and corporate life, trying to inspire and motivate. There are a lot of vets out there that struggle with that transition. It's very hard to equate what they learned in their training in the military and try to apply it out into the quote unquote real world. And so we love to share tips and tricks and ideas on how they can do that. And of course, we love to spotlight a veteran just like LaShawn or Wilson Majors. We're going to let him explain that soon too. Welcome, my friend. How you doing today?
Ted, thank you for having me. I'm doing great, man. It's good to see you.
So great to see you. Look, he's got the professional background. I'm in my daughter's old bedroom. You can still see TV cords. LaShawn's all smooth back there, the fireplace going on, the real setup. And you can talk about your show too. I would love that. But before we do, tell them a little bit about you. They love to kind of know your origin story, your point A to point B, and really get to know you. So give us some information on LaShawn Kirb.
Yeah, thank you for that. I think the best place to start, really, for me, is really in my childhood. Right, I grew up in Pittsburgh, and when I was young, I used to play hide and go seek all the time with like my sister and my cousin. And this one particular day, I'm playing hide and go seek, and I get this idea that I'm going to go hide in my mother's basement. And at the time, it was definitely a no-go zone. It was super dark. It was moldy and kind of scary. Nobody wanted to go down there. And I decided I'm going down there. And so I go down there, and my mom had this old refrigerator down there, and I took out the racks, and I get this idea that this is going to be the perfect place for me to hide. And so I climb in there, and I'm trying to get situated, and I knock the refrigerator over on the door. So
Oh
now
my
I'm trapped in the refrigerator in a basement. It's dark, and I'm screaming and I'm clawing, and I'm really just kind of begging to get out of there. And my mom, luckily, happened to be home this time, and she heard some rufflings in the basement, obviously, and came down, kicked the thing open, and got me out of there. But it was in that moment that I felt like I needed freedom, like I needed oxygen. These things were collapsed for me, and I just couldn't separate them. And that was the moment I really discovered that for me. And since that time, everything that I've done has really been with the intention to create more freedom, access more freedom, and be in a conversation about how to get other people to do the same thing.
I love that. I love the fact that you can remember that. It obviously had a huge impact on you and your memories. That was a traumatic memory almost, I'm sure. But I love that it inspired you to want to create freedom. So let's talk about how you applied that later on. So you obviously start to grow up, you get into the military. What was your impetus there?
Yeah, I mean, it really was the same drivers that pushed me into the military. It was becoming this, I guess, instrument of freedom was my thought at the time. And, I ended up going to the Marine Corps. I originally took my ASVAB with the Army. And I got really upset with them because the recruiters had taken me to take the ASVAB, the test. I didn't have a car at the time. And, they never came to pick me up. And I was so upset. I was thinking like, man, I need to be around people that like take this seriously. And so instead of going to the Army, I ended up going to the Marines, seeking them out, and eventually becoming a Marine. And that was a very powerful decision, and it certainly changed my trajectory of a lot of things. It was the right thing for me.
I love that. There's a lot of times I haven't had a vet come on and say I regret. And I love that. What this show is about is the transition out. So you eventually leave the military. And thank you for your service. And I mean that, not in the cliche way. I
Thank
mean
you.
that very much. What was that like? What was it like to get back out into the civilian world? Did you have struggles? And if you did, what were they? Or what did you plan so that you could immediately get out and start beginning to create freedom in a different way?
Yeah, great question. I think what's interesting to know about at least me in the military is I was always creative when I went in. And obviously, there's a lot of things that happen while you are in the military. But by the time that I was ready to leave, I had no plan. I was very young. I didn't really have any friends that had skills other than being militant, no business or investment, nothing like that. And I didn't come from that environment either growing up. So leaving, I think I was just kind of flailing a little bit. I had a few things that went, I think, in my favor. Part of that was that I have a high degree of delusion when it comes to like what's possible for me. So
I
I didn't
love
have
that,
any.
though.
Yeah, yeah, I do. A high degree of delusion. So I was ready to just kind of take on the world when I set foot out of there. But I did have when I was in, I had a buddy that sold me an old film camera, and I used to take it on like different training missions. I took it on around the world with me, and it just kind of laid this seed with me that I had a passion. I had fire in me with creating visual things. And so when I left the military, my original plan was kind of to do more of that. And eventually I did a ton of that. But that was kind of like the underpinnings of what I would do in the future. But I didn't have a very good plan. That transition wasn't as complicated for me as some other people because I don't drink. I never really adopted any kind of vices to get over my hardships in the military or anything like that. So it made it a bit easier. But I think the thing that never really settled for me was that once I was able to travel the world a bit and have experiences, relationships, and just explore, I was never the same person again. Right. So even coming back to the United States for me was a little bit complex because I could never quite fit back into the box that I came out of. And that just gave me just a sense of like being unsettled and not really content with things. I didn't want like a normal, regular job type of thing, so I never quite fit back in the way that I left. And that had been very challenging to kind of explore how to create a life that works, for me, not necessarily one that I could just get back into.
I think that is what a lot, from what I hear, vets on the show talk about. That's exactly what their struggle is that, okay, I don't fit back. I'm not in the military, so there's none of that structure or that particular camaraderie, and yet I don't feel like I fit in out here either. I don't know how to equate what I just went through and bring it and make myself successful out here in this world that doesn't operate the way the military world does. So I think a lot of vets feel that. For you, that's how I actually met you, because you were a photographer, you were a videographer, you were all in that arts, that special thing, and we met at Citrus Club a long time ago. And I just thought this is a creative dude. My first impression, which I've never shared with you, was super creative. Didn't know anything about your military experience. Has a story, and so I found that fascinating. And of course, we became friends, and I love that that we were connected way back in the day. Talk about how the photography and how capturing the world helped create your freedom, because I'm going to stick on that, because I think a lot of people, the way that you worded that is so powerful, and I think a lot of people are trying to figure that out, no matter what industry you're in right now. How do I create my freedom, and what does that mean to me? So how did that do that? How did that progress to where you're at now?
Yeah, it was really born out of failure, is the best way to say that. Creatively, I was doing a lot of things. I was getting to the place where I was getting my visual arts, my photography and videography were getting some awareness. I got them in editorials and magazines and billboards and different campaigns. It ended up on BET, ended up on Centric and Universal, and I felt really good about that. And what I didn't feel so good about was it wasn't making me very much money. And, I started to see my work on these like massive campaigns, and I knew that they were able to turn it into money, these large organizations, but I wasn't a part of that structure. So, it just kind of left me unhappy. So I, at the time, ended up having a powerful conversation with someone else. We became very good friends, worked in the studio with him. And the conversation looked like this: if you want to go and create something powerful for yourself, you have to find a way to create something that makes you money in your sleep. It has to be scalable because otherwise you are trading your time for that money and you don't have how much time do you have? You don't know how much time that you have, right? So you're exchanging something of incredible value of which you don't know how much it is or how much it's worth. And so that doesn't really work. So I had never really from that conversation recovered either, because I didn't know that people were doing that. I didn't really know that people even had systems to do this in a real way. I didn't know people were really making internet money in this way, right? So how scalable things. And so it sent me down a track of trying to discover, well, how is this becoming a thing? What is this? That led me into online marketing and affiliate marketing and digital marketing of various different kinds, online courses, digital products. And that to me started to color the picture in of how other people were doing it. And it gave me the roadmap of how I could do it for myself.
And I think that's where a lot of people struggle too. We don't know how to make our time more scalable. That's a great word too, because I feel, and I'm guilty of it sometimes. I give a lot of time out, and it's just not always scalable. I in certain areas of my career, my businesses, I don't create as much scalability as I could or should. But I think a lot of people struggle on how to do that. So, what was the answer for you? What did you finally come to? I know, of course, is one of your businesses. To talk a little bit about that. How did you come to that, and what was the creation like?
Yeah, great question. Also, of course, is kind of like our love child. Me and my wife created that. She was actually a consultant with another organization. In her background was as an educator, and specifically with her, she couldn't read up until fifth grade. So she had one teacher that really cared a lot about how kids were learning, and they discovered that she was really struggling. She had dyslexia. And so they needed to try some different learning strategies with her. And after doing that, she went from not being able to read to having like the highest test scores that that school had seen within the same year. And so it transformed her life. Obviously, she became an advocate of people learning in alternate ways that people could learn. And fast forward, online marketing, online marketers and online businesses start to really sell education in this massive, massive way to the tune of hundreds of millions of dollars per year. But they had this major problem. And the major problem was they couldn't really get people to learn with these things that they were selling. They were very good at like writing copywriting and getting people to convert and buy from them, but they just didn't know what it took to like deliver upon that promise. And so we noticed that. And so we're like, okay, we can solve that problem. And so she ended up creating this process using over 500 plus research studies of which learning strategies had like the highest degree of positive learning ability, right? So they could influence people to be able to retain the information and stay engaged and have it basically end up having a much higher retention rate when they would buy a course. And so that gave us kind of a lane in the online marketing space to start really consulting with some large businesses punching way above our weight class because they knew how to build kind of a preliminary structure and sell the hell out of it, but they really didn't know how to make a really good one. So that was like the beginnings of what Of Course became. And also we just really cared at the core because obviously it transformed her life. We knew we could help other people with it. And also these are all scalable digital products, right? So we were also helping people like take this time, buy their time back, right? Get outside of themselves and help more people because it wasn't restrictive to what they personally had to do. They had to create some system, some program, some offer, and some flow for this to happen, get some traffic for this to happen. But then they could just do more of that, right? So it became like a natural fit for how we wanted to live, how we wanted to serve, and what was most organic to the way that we could help people.
I think a lot of people have that idea. Like they may have the idea, and what you all do is you help them make sure that the idea gets to the people it needs to get to and makes them the money or has the reach or whatever their currency is that they're into or that they want to get. And I think a lot of people just struggle with the fact that they have the idea but they don't know how to do it. And I kudos to you guys because I've obviously seen some of your stuff, and I think that what you offer is so powerful if the person goes into it with the right mindset and is willing to invest that in themselves instead of trying to do something that's outside their wheelhouse. You basically built the system for everybody, and now they just need to come to you so that you can help them implement it. Talk about FlightRisk.
Yeah. FlightRisk is like, I'm so excited about it, right? Because I feel like most people have like these great desires in their life, and they usually feel as though they are much farther away from what that is, and my perspective on that is that they're really not. They're like a conversation away from creating a different life. They're one room away from it, one product away. And if you have a sense of like how close you are, that gives you kind of the intrinsic motivation to drive toward it. If you have the right systems, if you have the right network, and you can see, because you have other relationships next to you that are thriving from the thing you want to build, that becomes driven into your personality. It gets driven into your atmosphere, and now that becomes something that is obtainable for you. So flight risk is really the idea that you could take off at any moment, you could launch at any moment, and you need to take some specific risks, but like calculating those risks, like what is it going to take to get you there? And that is a whole conversation around that. So that's really what flight risk is about, is like you're at risk of taking off at any second. And I just absolutely love it. So good.
Your passion, it's palpable. You can tell when you're speaking about what you do. Tell me what it's like to work with your significant other. I think I've had a couple married couples on, and obviously a lot of married couples don't work together. So what's that like? What's the creative process like for you and Carrie?
That's a great question. I mean, it honestly doesn't feel like we work together that much. I mean, we do, but we don't, right? Like we have very different skill sets. I, I, I'm a creative, like multimedia is really my like my ground base. Luckily, like am really passionate about learning things, so I also have learned to skill stack over time, right? So I worked in software, obviously I worked in marketing and all those kinds of things, branding. And I've mostly been front facing, so I've worked with people at high ticket, right? So I have a sense of having the right kind of conversations to close deals, right? Like I'm really good with business development, but she's a true expert, like a true scholar at the thing, like a scholar among scholars when it comes to like education, specifically of how it's going to make you money, right? Because in our space, most people think of like online courses as simply something to sell. But it's really not like that. And if you're only thinking about it in that way, you honestly will miss a lot of your own opportunity. I'll give you an example. We were consulting with this organization that came to us to solve the problem of having people stay longer and that kind of thing. And they were doing about 100 million a year in digital products, which is amazing. And they had a core reason why they were doing this. Like they helped heal their mom from gut health. And that's also incredible. They built a whole business around it. The problem is, once we did an audit for them, they only had like a 3.9% completion rate. And we're like, oh my God, you're leaving so much money on the table. And you have so many other people that you could serve. And they had a bunch of products on the back end that actually helped you with gut health. Now, they ended up selling that business for a couple hundred million, but really it should have sold for $1 billion, right? That's what I'm saying about leaving stuff on the table. But my point to even going into that is that Carrie is a true expert at looking at these things, these systems, and is really quite skilled at that. And working with her has been really helpful for me because honestly, it leveled up my level of intelligence in regards to that, like my level of capability and skill set. And so it was almost like a mentorship or tutelage, right? So that's been extremely helpful for me in that regard, for sure.
I think it's so good when I'm a creative like you, right? Not quite as creative because I don't have the pretty background with the fireplace, but I'm a creative at heart. And the best partnerships I have in business and even in relationships are somebody who can counter me, who's more methodical, who thinks things in a different way. And I'm all up here and I need somebody here and here and here. And so I am excited for you because you can tell that partnership is, and it continues to grow and build It's always evolving, but it's great that you two recognize where your roles are and where your strengths are. So kudos to you. One last question, my friend, before we head out. Your all veterans are heroes in my mind. When I say the word veteran, when I say the word hero to you, who's the first person who comes to mind?
Hmm. Well, to me, my mom was like my greatest hero. And she wasn't a veteran, but she was just like so supportive of all things, like all things that you wanted to go out and do. She was such an advocate for that, had such belief in you and such passion for you to go and get that. And it was really her energy that I feel as though, first of all, I'm an extension of, but also like I was kind of under her tutelage about going out and creating a life that you love. She passed this last year, this last January. And so when I think of what was like most impactful for me in regards to like being a hero, I mean, she honestly, she dealt with so much like difficulty in her life and so much hardship, and to still kind of wake up every day as a positive person that wants to see beautiful things in the world. I love that because it's very easy to go through difficult things and then become hardened by it, right? Become lesser of yourself by it, deteriorated in a way. And she just wasn't like that. And I just love it. It was such a spark, and I can only hope to kind of carry on that same type of thing. So for me, I would put her in that position as a hero.
Beautiful, beautiful testimony about your mom. Thank you for sharing that. All right, my friend, tell them the best way they can find out more about you and your businesses and where you're at on social and all that good stuff.
Yeah, I mean, really the best way to connect with me is on the interwebs anywhere. You can either Google Lechon Kirb or Wilson Majors. And I know that we can talk a lot about that, but I'll make it quick.
Please do. Yes, I forgot. This is good. This is good. You reminded me. Yes, please.
So as a creative, like I've been making stuff forever, like graphics and visual and photography and all that. And I ended up creating a moniker a while back called Wilson Majors, really as an ode to my grandfather, whose name was Major Wilson. But my name is Lechon Kirb Wilson. So people know me as Wilson or Lechon Kirb. And I ended up kind of blending some of those worlds, right? So if you see any of that on the interweb, it's me. It's totally me. You can go to our website of course, if you want to learn more about how to create digital products or that kind of thing. It's of-course.us, or you can come find me at FlightRisk.io. And I'm on all the social. I'm on TikTok. I'm on Facebook. I'm on Instagram, Twitter. I'm even on Threads, though I don't do a lot there, but you can find me everywhere. LinkedIn.
LinkedIn everywhere. We'll tag you in all of this too. What a pleasure, what a joy to have you on and to spend time with you. I love what you do. I love your energy. I am thankful for you and thankful for your service to our country, and just thankful you're my friend. I appreciate you, my friend, so much. I do.
Thank you for the kind words. Honestly, it's been an honor to be on your show today and to share some space with you and some of the things that I've been through. And man, it's really just happy to be here. Thank you for being a good friend and being an awesome human.
Thank you. Same to you. All right, guys, reach out to Lechon Kirb. That is scrolling across the bottom there. You can find him at either of those sites or on social media. And of course, he'll be tagged so you can reach out to him and DM him. If you're looking, you've always been looking to do something like Lechon talked about, reach out to him. I swear to you, he is just as wonderful and personable and kind as he is right now. Thank you, Lechon. Happy holidays. Merry Christmas to you and Carrie and the family. And we will see you guys soon.